In this part of our lesson on factoring, we're going to take a look at factoring quadratics in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So remember, we know it's a quadratic because we have a degree of 2. So factoring a quadratic in this form is actually undoing the distributive property that we've done twice. So let's recall how to double distribute. So we have two binomials and we're going to distribute the x and then the negative 4. When we distribute x, we get x squared plus 3x. Now we're going to distribute the 4 to give us negative 4x minus 12. So we originally have 4 terms, but we're going to combine the two middle terms, our linear terms, to give us a trinomial. Now our a value is 1, our b value is negative 1, and our c value is negative 12. So notice that we originally got 4 terms, and then we combined to get 3 terms. This is going to be very important when we learn how to factor a trinomial such as x squared minus x minus 12. Our second problem of double distribute, we're going to distribute the x and then 6. When we distribute x, we get x squared minus 5x. Now we're going to distribute 6 to give us 6x minus 30. Again, we have 4 terms where we can combine the middle terms, the linear terms, to give us x squared minus x minus 30. Where the a value is 1, the b value is negative 1, and the c value is negative 30. Our third example, we're going to distribute x to give us x squared minus x. Then we distribute negative 7 to give us negative 7x plus 7. Again, we have 4 terms, and we're going to combine the linear terms, the middle term, the term that gives us our b value. Our a is 1. Our b is negative 8, and our c is 7. So let's recall how we have now a trinomial, but before we combined, we had 4 terms. And before that, we had our 2 binomials that we multiplied. So in the lesson for factoring a quadratic, you will be given a trinomial and working your way backward where we have to rewrite the middle term into 2 separate terms in order to have 2 binomials. These are the 2 factors of our trinomial x squared minus 8x plus 7. So just keep this in mind. As we are given a trinomial, we will be rewriting the middle term to create 4 terms so we can then group in order to create our 2 factors, our 2 binomials. So x plus 6 and x minus 5 are the 2 factors of our trinomial. So recall, the main idea to find the factors by grouping is we need to split the middle term, the linear term, into 2 terms, so we will have 4 terms, so we can group and have 2 binomials. In order to know what combination of 2 terms that we are going to get for negative 5x, we're going to use a graphic organizer. I call it the big X. So go ahead and write our first example, create a big X, and then let's recall what our A, B, and C value is of this example. The A value is 1, the B value is negative 5, the C value is negative 24. So again, we're trying to find out what 2 numbers we're going to use that still gives us negative 5 by using the graphic organizer. So our graphic organizer says the top number is going to be A times C, 1 times negative 24. The B value is simply that middle term, negative 5, the coefficient of the middle term. So we are asking ourselves, what two numbers can multiply to give us negative 24 and at the same time gives us negative 5 when we add them? So let's list the factors of 24. Now, yes, we will need to consider that we will be using a negative because we have a product that's negative. So here are the factors of 24. So we need to look at each pair to see which pair could give us a negative 5. So I know 1 and 24, there's no combination to give us negative 5. 2 and 12, that would either give us a 14 or a 10 if we were to combine this. 3 and 8, though. 3 and 8 could give us a negative 5 if 8 were negative. So 3 and negative 8 gives us negative 5, and when multiplied gives us the negative 24. So these are the two numbers that we're going to use to split our middle term. So we're going to rewrite our original problem, x squared plus 3x minus 8x minus 24. So I have not changed the value of my problem, just how it looks. Now we are going to group the first two terms and the last two terms. We are going to factor out the GCF of each binomial. So our first binomial has a GCF of x. Our second binomial, so we're going to have minus a factor of minus 8. This gives us x plus 3. Now we take the two GCFs to create one binomial. And the common binomial is going to be our second factor of our trinomial. So these are the two factors of this trinomial. Let's take a look at another example. Go ahead and write your problem and create a graphic organizer where your top number is A times C and your bottom number is B, but always ask, is there a GCF before you get started? In this case, we can see that 2 is a GCF, so I want to factor out a 2. And now let's identify our new A to be 1, our new B is 7, and our C is 12. So in our graphic organizer, 1 times 12 is 12, and our middle term is 7. We're trying to find what two numbers multiply to give us 12 and add to give us 7. We have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. And in this case, everything is positive, so we'll have no negatives. So I noticed that 3 times 4 also adds to give us 7. So these are the two numbers we're going to use to rewrite 7x. So we have 2 for our greatest common factor, and I'm going to rewrite x squared. Instead of 7x, I'm going to say plus 3x plus 4x plus 12. So I still have a value of 7x here. Now we're going to group. I'm going to group the first two terms and the last two terms. We're going to factor out the GCF of each binomial. So the first binomial has a GCF of x. Our second binomial has a GCF of 4. And now we're going to create one factor, x plus 4, and then the common factor is x plus 3. So this trinomial has three factors: 2, x plus 4, and x plus 3. Let's take a look at number 3. Again, write your problem and create your graphic organizer. Pause in the video when you need to. There is no GCF. I'm going to identify my A value, my B value, and the C value. In our graphic organizer, A times C is negative 24. Our B value is negative 2. So I'm thinking of the pairs of factors of 24, and one will need to be negative because we have a negative product. Oops, thinking of 12 here. So we have several pairs here. So I'm looking and I see that 4 and 6 could give me a sum of negative 2 if 6 were negative. And we need one of these numbers to be negative to give us a negative product. So we're going to rewrite negative 2x using 4x and negative 6x. X squared plus 4x minus 6x minus 24. So again, my expression still maintains the same value of our original problem. We're going to group the first two terms and the last two terms. We're going to factor out the GCF. We have a minus 6. We're going to take the GCFs to create one factor, and then our common factor is x plus 4. And I did notice that this does not need to be a square here. So when I factored out the x, I'm left with x plus 4. These two will always be the same. If not, we've made a mistake. So the two factors are x minus 6 and x plus 4. Let's take a look at another one. I notice this one has a common factor of 3. So the GCF we're going to factor out, and this gives us x squared plus 8x plus 12. Our A value is 1, our B value is 8, and our C value is 12. In our graphic organizer, 1 times 12 is 12. The B value is 8. We're trying to find what two numbers multiply to give you 12 and add to give you 8. So we have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. Everything is positive. I can see that 2 and 6 would add up to give me 8 and multiplies to give us 12. So we're going to rewrite, whoops, wrong one, because we've taken out the graphic organizer. We are rewriting 8x with 2x and 6x. So we have our greatest common factor of 3. Then we're going to rewrite x squared plus 2x plus 6x plus 12. We're going to use parentheses to group the first two terms and then the last two terms. We're going to factor out the greatest common factors for each binomial. We're going to bring down that GCF. That's one factor. Another factor is x plus 6. And the third factor is the common factor of x plus 2. X squared minus 10x plus 21. We do not have a GCF. Our A value is 1, our B value is negative 10, and our C value is 21. In our graphic organizer, 1 times 21, and we have negative 10 as our b value. So we are trying to rewrite this term into two separate terms. So we have 21, 1 and 21, 3 and 7. Now, we need both numbers to be negative because our sum is negative, but our product is positive. And so I can see that negative 3 and negative 7 gives us positive 21 and adds to negative 10. So we're going to rewrite our middle term with x squared minus 3x minus 7x plus 21. Then we're going to group the first two terms and the last two terms. We're going to factor out the GCF from each binomial. This is minus, and it's going to be 7. We're going to take the two GCFs. That's going to be one factor of our original trinomial. And then we have our common factor. So these are the two factors. These were the original binomials that once multiplied gave me my original trinomial. Negative 2x squared minus 24x minus 64. We have a GCF and we have a leading coefficient that's negative, so we definitely need to factor out the negative. This leaves us with x squared plus 12x plus 32. So our A value is 1, our B value is 12, and our C value is 32. In our graphic organizer, we're going to have 1 times 32, and the B value is 12. So we are trying to find what two terms are going to multiply, that we're going to split 12 so that multiplies to give us 32 and adds to give us 12. So let's list those: 1 and 32, 2 and 16, 4 and 8, and everything is positive now that we factored out the negative. So it looks like we're going to use 4 and 8. So 4 times 8 gives us 32 and adds to give us 12. So we have our GCF of negative 2. We're going to rewrite 12x with 4x plus 8x. We are going to group the first two terms and then the last two terms. We're going to factor out the GCF of x, and we're going to factor out the GCF of 8. We're going to bring down the greatest common factor. Our first binomial factor is x plus 8, and the second binomial factor is x plus 4. So this trinomial has three factors: negative 2, x plus 8, and x plus 4.